Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here. And please, remind your teams and stuff that we do this call every Tuesday. Sometimes I do have a substitute, but today I didn't. It actually worked out because Amanda was gonna share on this call, and then she couldn't because Maddox was up sick all night. And it just so happened that I had to postpone well, not postpone. I am going to be speaking at her event in June, but I had to postpone Savannah because Naomi was really, really sick and she has mold poisoning. So now we have to move her again. So rah, rah, woo. All right. I know. Okay. So you guys, let's get down to this and let's talk about, best practices and, this is something that we hadn't covered in a while. So I definitely want to talk about the fear of rejection, right? It's one of the worst things that we can, when we go to someone and, either we're left out or we're told no, that, that fear of rejection is a real thing. And a lot of times it holds us back. So when you have that, that fear, the one thing that you can do is knowing that you have something that you can offer that is completely unique to you, whether you're doing this in a professional environment or a personal environment. So I want to talk about how, and you guys, I just had this happen actually. So like I had a phone call literally on Sunday and I found out one of my favorite people, he's doing something really, really cool. And I was like, I want to be included in on that. I'm just waiting for the invitation, right? So I kind of got down on myself and I'm like, okay, maybe you need to ask some more questions. And I really think that when, we are being rejected, that we actually ask questions, get clarity. I think that's the first thing that we can do is get clarity on why someone says no, or why, we're not included. So that's one of the very, very first things that that I wanted to talk about. But when you get rejected, it's normal for us to go through, and especially when your mindset isn't there, is that you go through denial, you go through anger, and then you start making up these. I'm famous for this, you guys. Start making up scenarios in your mind, right? Of why somebody told you no. You know what? And that you really have to come from a place that you have so much to offer, right? You're pushing the limits. That's all rejection is. You're pushing the limits. So the other thing it can lead to too is that if you start going down that rabbit hole, is that it leads to depression, right? Okay. And sometimes we don't think that we're worthy because someone has told us no, or we're not included. But you know what? The one thing is that you have to ask yourself, well, you know what? That's them. The only thing that you can control is your reaction to the rejection. Okay. So I always use this. I always use this example. Jay came into our relationship and I was in a horrible place, right? My divorce still wasn't finalized, but you know what? Even though I kept telling him no, he was very persistent. He was very tedious, right? He wasn't willing to take no as an answer. And thank God, he kept asking. But it's the same, right? When you're in a relationship with someone, no matter what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to sell them something, we're salespeople from day one, whether we realize it or not, because we're selling ourselves to our parents, to our family. And then once we become parents, we're selling ourselves to our kids, right? So yes, today is Jay's birthday. Thank you very much, Kat. But rejection is a part of life. And I think the more times that we get rejected, the thicker skin that you have. So you know what, you guys, it's okay. You know what? No is just no. Other people's opinions don't pay your bills, and no just means not right now. Okay. So remember, rejection is part of life. Okay. Accept the rejection, accept what happened. I could also use my second divorce as part of this rejection, because I was all in. Divorce for me was not in the cards. It never was, because I saw my parents went through a really horrible divorce, and I'm like, I am going to stick with it. I'm going to work it out. I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not willing to let go, right? But there becomes a time where you're rejected, and this is by people so often that, you know what? that God says they're not right for your life, and they're rejecting you because rejection is protection. There we go, you guys. Rejection is protection. Okay. So the other thing too is that when you are rejected, you have to treat yourself with compassion, right? So you need to do like, and especially maybe it's the ending of a friendship or a business relationship. I've had to let a lot of people go, especially over this last 2 years. Okay. It's just time for them to move on out of your life. And that was one of the beautiful things that I saw in the aftermath of my second divorce. I mean, shit, he had a whole nother family. I think it's time for me to move on. Okay. So, and the other thing is too, is that especially when you are feeling stressed, okay, stress. And so Naomi and I were at the naturopath yesterday, and stress is the number one thing that releases cortisol. Stress actually kills more people than anything else. Cortisol, that fight or flight, that stress hormone, horrible for you. I always tell people, look, if you're feeling, bad about a situation, or you have anxiety, and a lot of times this helps when people travel, because I know that, like, y'all, I drive with Jay and I'm doing my box breathing sitting in the back seat because I'm not sitting in the passenger seat with him. Okay. So, again, when you are feeling anxiety or rejection, go back to your breath work. If any of you take yoga, if any of you practice box breathing, and I talk about this in the vision casting workshops that I do, is that box breathing is really, really important. And I prefer 4 in through the nose, hold it for 4, breathe out through the mouth for 8. Okay. That seriously changed my life. Okay. So, increasing your oxygen intake can help you deal with that rejection. Okay. The other thing is that you cannot allow rejection to define you. Okay. You can be in it for a moment. Okay. Grieve over what happened, but then you have to move on. You have to move on. Okay. The other thing is that, one, if you allow it to define you, you need to go to work on your mindset. I don't think I posted it in our team group. I posted a 9-minute clip in some of my leader chats on Sunday that I listened to from Andy Frisella. It was so good. He talks about all of this. Whatever you're lacking in your life is your problem. Okay. It is you and your problem. It's not anybody around you. You can either play the victim mentality or the victor. That's it. There's no gray area in there, you guys. Okay. The other thing is that from rejection is that you grow and learn from experiences. And sometimes rejections it's negative. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. It is a negative occurring thing, but you can't live in negativity. So you grow from that experience and you learn. It's no different. It's a failure. I view rejection as a failure, and a failure is a lesson. You got to learn from it. Okay. The other thing is that when you're going through this, and especially in relationships where you're hurt, acknowledge your emotions, right? You need to let that other people know how you're feeling. But you know what? We're taught, no, don't rock the boat. Keep it all bottled in. Don't say anything. Take the higher road. You guys, I've taken the higher road, especially over this, last 5 to 10 years. I have always taken the high road. But you know what? There comes a time that you just have to call people on their shit. And that's okay. Because you know what? You make room for more things that you should be blessed with. So you think about that, all right? And you think about, all of those times that you have been challenged, but you think about all of those times where it's actually been a great benefit. So I did this in the last workshop that I did. And I don't know let me just pull this over here. Oh, you know what? I don't know why. I can't figure out why my background is like that. But so here's what I did, you guys. I'll just draw this out for you real quick because I want to show you something. And I had too much coffee today. So what I did is I made a T column, and I'm just going to show you, I just got this idea. So bear with me here. What went right? What didn't? Okay. So I made and I did this in the beginning. I did this in January of 2024. So you guys all know, you follow me, I've talked about it openly. 2023 was a rough year for us. Okay. So here we go. So what I did is I made a T column. And so I have this on my vision board over here. Okay. And I made a T column of in 2023, what went right and what didn't. Okay. So on my column for what went right in 2023, I had 3 times the amount of what didn't go right in 2023. So guess where my focus was? Stinking thinking. I mean, even though we had some major things that happened, you know, that's just, you know, part of life, right? So I love this analogy, and, you know, and you do look at the last 10 years of your life. Okay. What things have gone wrong and what things have gone right. And I will bet you, regardless of what you're going through right now, currently at this moment, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, is that you've had a lot more positive things come out in the last 10 years. However, more challenging years, right? So if I look at the totality of the last decade, 4 years have been phenomenal, 3 years have been meh, and 3 years have been shit, right? But it takes, you know, those speed bumps that we're walking around or walking over to get to the good. So when I look at that and I say, okay, we've had 4 phenomenal years, I'll take the other 6, right? Because when it's so good, it's so good. And that's what we have to remember. What's that next step in the evolution of what's happening in your life right now? Okay. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is that rejection doesn't define you. You define you. Where your mind space is, your, you know, what you think about yourself, what you're telling yourself. It was like when I was talking about mirror works, I started doing that more, talking to myself very, you know, positively every day. You know, what I am brave, I am worthy, I am deserving, I am worthy, right? And saying all those things to yourself in the mirror, self-love is a huge part of that. So if you're not practicing self-love, you guys, how do you think that you're going to get through major rejections in your life? It shortens the time frame that and we all grieve, right? Different situations, rejection, it's part of a grieving process, right? When that happens. But how you grieve and how long you grieve, no matter how big the problem is, and I'm even talking about suffering loss of somebody that's close to you, right? Is that we can look at the gifts that they left us with, or we can look at the void. And yes, do I still talk about my grandmother, even though she was my matriarch? She was the solid rock in my family. She has been dead since I was 26. I still feel her presence. You guys, I'm going to be 55. That's been for 30 years. I still feel her on my shoulder. Sorry. I don't know why I got emotional. You know, telling me how great I am, because I never had that from my own parents. So remember that you have the power to change someone's life just by saying something nice, just by showing kindness, by paying it forward. And that, I'm going to go back to this again, because we talk about this all the time, rooted in gratitude. When you are rooted in gratitude, the rejection becomes so nominal that I'm like, please bring me more rejection. Bring it on, because I know that there's going to be something really good on the other side of that. So when you look at it that way, and it's like Ed Milet says, okay, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So that is something that kind of was on my heart when I was like, okay, I got to come up with a topic today because Amanda can't do it. And so hopefully Maddox is feeling better. But the great thing is that you guys, we've all experienced, so let's be each other's biggest cheerleaders. Let's talk through this. And when you're feeling bummed, don't always call somebody to talk about your challenges, right? call them and find out how you can serve other people, but, at least talk to people about it. I did a huge thing and I reached out to one of my most favorite mentors in the world. And this was a stretch for me, you guys, to talk about, one of the challenges that I'm having. And it felt so good to talk to somebody who had been through a similar experience and was able to give me some insight. But don't be afraid to peel back the layers. Not everything is okay, but how are you working through them? What experience, what answers, what learning did you learn in order to help yourself, order to help yourself get through it? Share that with people, because you never know, you're going to be able to help someone. Just one person a day. If I can help one person a day with something that is challenging in their life or with something that they're feeling, does that mean that you don't be a punching bag for people? Don't be a carpet. But you know what? If you can offer solid advice of someone that's going through something, I mean, you're making deposits. You're making those positive deposits every single day. And that cannot help but to get you to move forward, right? Providing value, providing service, living in gratitude. Those are the key things that get me through every single problem or challenge or rejection I have ever had in my life. And y'all know I've had some doozies. And just like everybody else that I know on this call, I know that you guys have had some doozies, right? So how are you going to use that to propel your life forward, right? To help others, to serve others. It's from your experiences and what you learned from them. So that was kind of what I wanted to share, what was on my heart today. So you guys, let's open it up let's have round robin dialogue. Let's open it up for some conversation here, some ads, asks.
Toni, I think it's so great how you covered this in such a way of not actually covering it necessarily from a rejection from a yes or no from on 8, because I truly feel like most people are scared of the yes or no from on 8 based off of past trauma from rejection in other parts in their lives. And I think it's so powerful that you shared it from a root issue, not from the symptom, right? Because I think that no one's worried if someone says no to their shampoo, but it's their base of their learned behaviors from other rejections in the past. So thank you for that and bringing it to the root issue. I just appreciate you so much for that. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, Kat. And that, I mean, when we look at rejection, it starts when we're very, very young, from our parents, actually, them withholding love, or, being, like a totalitarian household, or, them making you feel guilty about, things that you shouldn't feel guilty for. Sometimes, I was always oh, you know what? You're bossy, you're bitchy, you're this. Stop being stop, for lack of a better word, stop being a twat. Right. So the thing about it is that when people, they say that, and I was like, oh my God, back then. And now I'm embracing it, even in your own children, is that stop it. Naomi's dog is over here talking to me because she's not getting attention. So the one thing about it is that those are kids with natural leadership skills, right? So we have to whatever your, our children, what they shine in is what we should be, promoting, embellishing, encouraging them, to live in their craft, live in what they love, and not trying to, stifle what their creative outlook, their creative juices are, and I'm so glad, and I'm just going to use this as an example in society, even 10 years ago. Oh, you got to go to school to get a good job. You got to go to school to do this. You got to go to school to do that. It ain't what it's cracked up to be. Entrepreneurism is not about getting a PhD. It's just not. Entrepreneurism is thick skin, sisters, and a lot of consistency and a lot of ups and downs. You're one day, you know what? You're in the Grand Canyon, and the next day you're on top of Mount Everest. That's just the way it is. But it all levels out. It just all levels out. So Anything else? Does anybody else want to add or ask anything? PhD in life. You got it, sister. That is a great analogy.
So I'm Trish. I definitely feel like I've learned so much about myself just being with Monat because of the stuff that we talk about all the time with limiting beliefs and everything. Because I grew up in that negative household where there was fighting all the time. My parents were like, I love my parents to death, but constantly putting us kids against other parent, and it was just a constant battle. And I grew up that way. And then unfortunately, my first husband, it was the same lifestyle. I was in fight or flight all the time. I felt like I was in survival mode and then I became a single mom, which was the best thing ever compared to that. So I've learned so much with doing these calls and everything. And I appreciate it, Toni, for doing this, because it really does make you feel like you're not crazy and you're, okay, now I know what the root is of why I don't do certain things, or I procrastinate, or I avoid things, because it's like these little voices in the back of my head that you're not that kind of person to get there, or you can't be that person because of where we came from and stuff. So, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, no. So Trish, when I was doing research on procrastination, because I find that I procrastinate around certain things that I don't like doing. And it's just, it's anxiety. It's actually, procrastination is rooted in anxiety. And so when I put those anxious tasks that I have to do first, okay, and I get them out of my way, I'm not thinking about them all day long, right? So that truly has a lot to do. Fear of rejection plays into so many different like mental issues, right? From, you're talking about anxiety, you're talking about procrastination, you're talking about, negative self-talk, all that kind of stuff. So when we start realizing that, this was done to us, right? Usually by another person, right? Or a situation. And then it's almost like you almost make peace with it. And you're letting that old part of you go, and you're embracing this new part, because one is that you truly have to change your thinking. Neural passageways in your brain are a real freaking big deal. And so that starts with personal and professional development. It starts with listening to the right stuff, reading the right stuff, being around the right people. I want to be around, like-minded people. I don't want to be around the people that, they work the 9 to 5, they go sit on the couch, watch 3 or 4 hours worth of TV every single day. On the weekend, they're watching sporting games, they're going to sporting games, and they're wasting their time and money, and they're not investing in themselves. I don't want those folks around me. I want to be around in a room where, you've got the 7, 8, 9, and 10-figure income earners, right? Because I have something I can learn from them. So that's, that also is in conjunction to your circle of influence and people who are influencing you. This is why I spend so much money on masterminds. I want to learn from those people, those people that are doing better than me, those people that, they have these incredible connections that, they make more money, but they have relationship capital. That's what I want. Right. So not to get off topic, but really surrounding yourself with better people, there's going to be less rejection. I also think that rejection has to do with, one, jealousy. Okay. That's the biggest thing about rejection is, one is jealousy. And two is just that people just really don't want to give you their time or take the time to understand, to know you, to see what you're doing. Right. They've automatically put up a wall, because that's just how they are. So being around open-minded people is a big deal. So thank you for that share.
I think it's cool that you brought that up, because I think that, like, for us to grow in life, we have to like look at things that are common denominators. And that's what we can go and find, is that rejection is one common denominator that will happen to every single person in life in general. Right. And so like, I love surrounding myself with people like Toni, who I know have faced that common denominator before, and they've come through it on the other side. And that's where it's like surrounding yourself with people who have done it, but also done it successfully, and they've worked through it and they've done that, is where the shortcuts can come. Right. But like looking at people who maybe there's people who have faced like a lot more rejection, but they're still constantly in the mud of it. Like they've actually never still come out of it. They've never like grown from it. Right. And it's like about surrounding yourself. I think every single person like is like insane if your action step after this is to not send it to the people on your team and in your life and share it with them and be like, hey, you need to listen to this, because this is the common denominator, especially in our business. There's not one person who steps into this and gets told yes every single day, every single time.
Yep.
Right? Like there's not. That's one thing that I can promise you is going to be the same every single time, every single market partner, every single person, right? Because it's just what it is. So I would say, send this. This is and bookmark it and use it, because I can promise you every single person that comes into your business is going to face it as well.
Yep. 100%. So I was going to go get the link of that 9-minute clip. I'll drop it in here, and I'll go drop it in our other groups and stuff. But I'm going to put this link in here. Seriously, you guys, I've listened to it every day since, well, 3 days in a row. I've listened to it since Andy released this on Saturday. But I'm telling you, it is the most profound. Look, if you can't explain anything in 15 minutes, it's a confusing, fucked up situation, and just walk away from it. And my husband has always said that if you can't explain something in 3 to 4 sentences, don't bother, right? Because it's not worth your time, effort, and energy. It really isn't. So you live in your truth, you live in your core values, your pillars, and you go out there and you share that with the world. And if people are going to reject you because of that, they aren't your people. So yeah, that was, hey, you're welcome for my TED Talk today. All right, you guys, listen, we are right at the half-hour point. Thank you so much for contributing, Kat, Trisha. Love having you guys on these calls. Everybody here, you guys, please come to these calls. Here, make it a goal next week. Bring at least one cross-line side sister and one downline, okay, or brother. But let's just, I firmly feel, okay, there's so much value to these calls with our interaction and with our conversations that y'all, there's people missing out. Let's get them on this Tuesday call at noon. All right. So you guys, I love you. Have a great rest of your week. Mid-month, make sure that you've got everything, buttoned up. All right. Love you. Bye-bye.